And what we're going to do is we're going to go down. I'm going to do the odds with you guys. I'll do the evens with the other class. And then the video will be posted. If you're struggling at all, you can go back and take a look at it. Or I don't think it's that difficult. However, sometimes it can be a little confusing at first. So give me some time. All right. Again, there are 50 problems, I think, somewhere around there to give you the practice. All right. Once you get the hang of it, it's very simple. All right. It's very simple. So let's first start out with the square root of 64. What did we say the square root of 64 was? 8. Now, again, please, I know the answer is 8. I want you to listen to what I'm saying so you can help you. It will help you understand the variables. I want you to tell me that 8 squared is 64. All right. And so now when you take the square root, the way I tell kids is you're taking them out in groups of 2. So if you have 8 squared, how many groups of 2 are there?
8.
Stop. How many groups of 2? If you have 8 squared, how many groups of 2 are there? 1. All right, there is 1. All right. Now, if you have x to the 4th, how many groups of 2 are there? 2. That's why this answer is 8x squared. All right, that's why the answer is 8x squared. Now, again, that's just helpful, knowing that you're taking them out in groups of 2. However, all right, basically what you're doing is you're taking the square root of the number and you're dividing the exponent by what? By 2. You're not taking the square root of the exponent. That's what you have to understand. You're dividing the exponent by 2. So if I said, what's the square root of x to the 10th? Everybody would tell me that is x to the 5th. All right, no. All right, if I said the square root of x to the, let's say, 16 is a good one. What is the square root of x to the 16th? Not x to the 4th. That's the common mistake. All variables are divided by 2. So the square root of x to the 16th would be x to the 8th. All right. The problem comes when we have an odd power. All right. So please listen to the odd power. All right. So if I say, for example, x to the 5th, how many groups of 2 can you take out? 2. So the answer is x squared, and 1 guy is left behind. That's the answer. You're taking them out in groups of 2. Now, normally what we'd like to do is we'd like to say, okay, mathematically what we're doing is we're just changing x to the 5th to x to the 4th times x to the 1st. And then what's the square root of x to the 4th? X squared. And then this x doesn't have a friend to go out and play with, so he has to stay inside. All right. You're taking them out in groups of 2. You take them out in groups of 2. Now, again, that's just a little summary here. All right, as we go down the page, it changes a little bit every time. All right, so as soon as you get lost, you got to speak up. So now I'm on number 3. We have major problems on number 3 because the square root of 32 is not a perfect square and x to the 5th is not a perfect square. So we have to figure out what perfect square is in 32. We're not doing decimals anymore. All right. Now, what am I saying about the perfect squares? On the side, you should say 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100. Those are perfect squares. Why are those perfect squares? Because if I take the square root of 1, I will get what? 1. Square root of 4 is what? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so on. You are looking for these numbers in this number 32. What perfect square is in 32? 25 is in 32. 16 is. That is correct. 16 goes into 32. So I want everybody underneath number 3, I want you to do a square root, and then I want you to put 16 times 2. Is x to the 5th a perfect square? No. We're going to break that down to x times x to the 4th. Now, I would like everyone to tell me what's the square root of 16? 4. What is the square root of x to the 4th?
X squared.
X squared. What's left behind?
2x.
2x. There you have it. All right. It's not that difficult. Obviously, it's going to require some practice. I gave you lots of practice as we're going down the page. Yes. Listen, 16 times 2 is 32. X to the 4th times x is x to the 5th. All right, good question. What? Yes, that's always the rule. If it's odd, you're just going to subtract 1, but I didn't really want to say that yet. All right, that's how you always break down the odds. All right, so here we go with 81. The first thing you do is underline 81. Is that a perfect square?
Yes.
Yes. Is x to the 4th a perfect square?
Yes.
Yes. Is y to the 9th?
No.
No, it is not. It's not a perfect square because does it divide by 2 evenly?
No.
No. So now everybody for me, I want everybody to write a square root down. And later you'll be able to do this like everyone just will be able to look at this and tell me the answer. There will be no work on the side. But right now I'm training you to see the work. So right now I need everybody to write down 81. That's a perfect square. X to the 4th is a perfect square. Y to the 9th will break down to y to the 8th times y. Everybody with me on that?
Yeah.
Now, why is that? Because now you can go back and you can highlight the square root of 81, which is what? 9. What is the square root of x to the 4th?
X squared.
What is the square root of y to the 8th? Y to the 4th. What's left behind?
Y.
It's really simple, guys. Really simple. Now, again, I keep trying to help some of you guys that are trying to help yourself. If you don't join now, if you don't ask me questions now, it's a little bit difficult later when we get down to, 37. All right? Join us now. Do the work now. What?
So when you break down the variables, you add the square root of it.
Someone help him. What do we do?
We divide variables.
Divide the variable. Write that down. All right, now, just because I know you're trying to be smart, you should be looking at 8 and say, how in the world did he get 4? Is the square root of 8 4? Definitely not. So he must have what? He must have divided by 2. All right, so here we go. Again, 72. All right, what perfect square is in 72? Yeah, you guys are doing pretty good. Most people say 72 is 9 times 8. But it's actually what? Even better. 36. So I'm going to do 9 and 8 first. All right? Because sometimes you don't always see the largest perfect square. So I want everybody to pay attention with this one. Negative square root. I want you to write down 9 times 8, x to the 6th, y to the 10th. Now, is 9 a perfect square?
Yes, yes.
Yes,
Yes.
right? So what's the square root of 9?
3.
So it's going to be -3. What's the square root of x to the 6th? X to the 3rd. What's the square root of y to the 10th? Y to the 5th. And what's left behind? The square root of 8. However, you should look at 8 and go, wow, I think that has a perfect square in it. What perfect square is in 8? 4. So now you're just going to write -3x cubed y to the 5th, 4 times 2. Again, what's the square root of 4? You're multiplying, right? So when you multiply, there's a -3 already out there. So what do you do with the 2 and the -3? Multiply. So the answer is -6 x cubed y to the 5th radical 2. All right. What?
What?
I'm confused.
Shh.
Yeah, I'm confused on why you would multiply the -3 and 2.
Because it's multiplication. All of that means multiply. Times, 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 times. Everything in there is multiplication. Right? So why are you're still confused? What?
Yes.
What do you, okay, so now the next question is, what do you want me to do with the 2 and the 3?
I didn't think you would have to do it.
What's the square root of 4? So there's a 3 out in front. What do you want to do with the 2 and the 3? Say multiply. Why multiply? Because it's all multiplication. What is all of this together? Multiply, multiply, multiply. They're all, there's no addition, there's no subtraction, there's no division. It's all what? So what am I going to do? There you go. Simple as that. Good, Xavier. What?
So why is the 9, like this on the last one, it wasn't,
Because the square root of 81 is what? What's the square root of 81? 9. What's the square root of 9? Right? What?
I don't get where you got the 6x there.
Did you just listen to what I told him?
I know, I don't.
What's the square root of 4? There's a 3 out in front. What do I do with the 2 and the 3? Why? That's all multiplication.
And when you did that with the other two,
What other 2? Tell me.
the 2 on the right. on
The t- What, I'm not sure. What do you want me to do with this 2? Shh. What do you want me to do? I think you're asking me a question. I can't hear you. I don't know what you're at.
I don't know. I just don't really like it. Would you multiply that too?
Here's what you're asking me. I'm just going to leave the variables out. -3 radical 8. This means -3 times the square root of 8. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Do you agree with that? Right? So now it's -3 times the square root of 4 times 2. What's the square root of 4? So you're asking me what? Why it's -6 radical 2. That's what your question is.
Yeah.
Do you know now? Because it's all what? pretty soon we're going to be doing radical 3 plus 4 radical 3. Then I'm going to tell you you're going to do what? What? What am I going to do with radical 3 plus 4 radical 3? Why would you say multiply with an addition sign? Well, that's what I'm trying to, it's not a mystery. That's what I don't understand about some of you. I'm telling you, all of this is multiplication, and you're like, what are we supposed to do? If it's all multiplication, what should we do? If there's addition involved, what do you think we're going to do? If there's division, what do you think we're going to do? Guess what happens? It's going to get wild and crazy when I say subtraction. What are we going to do when there's subtraction? Probably subtract. Isn't that amazing how that works? Right? That's it. You just got to follow directions. All right. You're learning something new. I understand that. All right. Let's see what we can do with number 9. What perfect square is in 40?
4 and 10.
What? 20 is a perfect square.
There is no perfect square.
Is 20 a perfect square?
No.
4.
4 is a perfect square. And if you don't know the perfect squares, what should you probably do? You should probably write them down. Then you won't have to tell me like 11 is a perfect square. How do I find the perfect squares? You list the numbers 1 through 10, and then you square them. That gives you the perfect squares. So you don't really have to write them down if you know what a square is. 1 squared, 2 squared, 3 squared, 4 squared. Come on, guys. All right, so now I'm back to square root of 40. Is there a perfect square in the square root of 40?
4 and 10.
4 and 10, thank you. Why would I use 2 and 20? Shh. I'm asking you a question.
I don't know.
Is 2 a perfect square? Is 20? Would I use 2 or 20? You see, that's what I'm saying. You're looking for the perfect squares. That's what you're doing. 2 and 20 are not perfect squares. I wouldn't use them. All right, is x to the 16th a perfect square?
Yes.
Is y to the 9th?
Yes.
Is
No.
no.
Y to the 8th and times y.
Yes, y to the 8th times y. All right, now we're going to go through. What's the square root of 4?
2 and 2.
What's the square root of 4? 2. So it's plus or minus 2. Now, what's the square root of x to the 16th?
That's the 8.
X to the 8th. What's the square root of y to the 8th?
Y to 4.
And these sad and lonely people are left behind.
10y.
10y. They have no friends to go out and play with, so they have to stay behind. In order to go out and play, you have to have a partner. All right, one more time. Number 11. Is square root of 100 a perfect square?
Yes.
Is A a perfect square?
1 is perfect square.
1 is not a perfect square if it's an exponent, right? Because you got to divide by 2. Can I break A down at all, though?
No.
No. Is B to the 4th a perfect square?
Yes.
Yes. So, wow, I didn't have to do anything on this. You should be able to look at that and say, what's the square root of 100? What's the square root of B to the 4th?
B to the 2nd.
And what's left behind? Wow, beautiful.
All right, so a number can't be a perfect square unless it's divided by 2 when it's an exponent.
You mean an exponent?
Yeah.
Exponents must be divisible by 2. All right, that's what you need to write down. All right, lots of problems here, guys. Come on, continue down. You're supposed to get a little better every time. All right, and I'm telling you, there's a lot going on radicals now. All right, so this is the basics. I can't teach you add, subtract, multiply, divide. All right, if we can't break them down. All right, right now, What perfect square is in 180?
36 and 5.
Wow, that is really good. What else is? Most people see a what?
18 and a 10.
Which one of those is a perfect square? 10 is a perfect square, really?
No,
None of them are perfect squares. I like what he said, 36 times 5. Most of you like, I would have never known 36 times 5 is 180. And that's perfectly okay. What else is, most people would look at 180 and see what number? But 90 is not a perfect square. 2 is not a perfect square. But I like 90. 90 is close to 9. 9 is a perfect square. Most people look at that and say, that's 9 times 20. Does everybody see that? All right, so we're going to break it down as 9 times 20. Those of you guys who knew it was 36 times 5, that's excellent.
Can we stick with that?
Yeah, stick with that. And then x to the 9th has to break down to x to the what? X to the 8th and x. Now, what's the square root of 9? 3. What's the square root of x to the 8th? And what's left behind? 20x. Now, is there a perfect square in 20? What is it?
4.
4 times? That's right. So now watch. 3x to the 4th, 4 times 5x. What's the square root of 4?
2.
What do I do with the 2?
Times by 3x.
Multiply it by 3. Why? Because it's all multiplication. So now it's 6x to the 4th, radical 5x. Now, for those of you guys who knew it was 36 times 5, watch. X, 8 times x. All right? This is for those of you guys who know your squares. What's the square root of 36?
6.
What's the square root of x to the 8th?
X to the 4th.
Now it's just easier.
5x.
Does everybody agree with me? It's just easier. All right, it's easier when you can find the largest perfect square, but sometimes you just can't, and that's okay. You just got to keep breaking it down. All right, so plus or minus square root. 363. Someone want to help me out with that? So no, you don't. Look at the 3 and the 6 and the 3. What goes into all 3 of those numbers? 3, right? So it'd be 3 times what?
121.
121. Why is 121 good?
Because you just multiply it, or perfect.
It's a perfect square. A, B to the what? 14th, and then
1.
B. Come on, we're getting the hang of it now. All right, so now I need some help. Square root of 121.
11.
So it's going to be plus or minus 11. What's the square root of b to the 14th? B to the 7th. What's left behind? 3ab. All right, here we go. Let's check out 17. All right, I'm going to give you 30 seconds. Go. See if you can do this by yourself. If you can do this by yourself, you're in good shape. If you have no clue, you got to start asking questions. Okay. What? Tell me.
-3x to the 5th, y to the 3rd.
Wow. See what I'm saying? Teaching you. Just let me teach you and listen carefully. That's simple, guys. Simple. That's easy. Anybody need to help with that? Anybody? Just because I said it easy, you're going, oh, it's not easy to me. And then you're sitting there. 27 just breaks down to what? 9 and 3. Seriously, does anybody have any questions now? Come on now. Be brave. If you don't know, speak up. I can't help you if you don't tell me. Nobody. Wow. All right, that's impressive. All right. You told me the answer. You told me the answer.
Yeah, I get that.
Don't make it more complicated now. 19, go, 30 seconds. Now, those of you guys using a calculator, you don't really need a calculator. All right. Now, are there any perfect squares in 42? No, because if you were looking at this, you might say, well, 6 and 7, but 6 breaks down to 2 times 3. So are there any groups of 2 with those numbers? Does everybody see that? There aren't any groups of 2. Put your hand down. I'm going to talk about a little bit more advanced now. Does 42 break down?
Well, no.
No, there's no perfect square in 42, period. If you don't know that, you can raise your hand and say, I have no idea what you're saying. Anybody have any questions with square root of 42? There is no perfect square in 42. Now, because we are brilliant, all right, come on now. I don't want you doing all the work. I want you to pay attention now so you can go, okay, that's how you think about these. Equals. Now, I want everybody to put a square root down. Anything that's a perfect square comes on the outside. So does 42 break down?
No.
So I put 42 here. Now, what about x to the 16th?
That's good.
So that is
That's good.
x to the 8th. So I put x to the 8th right here. Now, how many groups of 2 can we take out? Stop, think for yourself. 4, not what someone else says. Y to the 4th. How many are left behind? 1. This is where you should be at. All right, now some of you are like, what is he doing? He's crazy. All right, so you're breaking 9 down into what?
Y to the 8th
And y. If you can't do this over here, just break the odd ones down. All the evens are easy because you're just dividing them by what?
2.
Dividing by 2. That's it. Ava, how am I doing? Just good?
Yeah. Okay, well, okay, so
You got to speak up, girl. Come on.
what the 9, what the y to the 9, I don't like,
Most people think that's a perfect square because 9 is a perfect square,
right.
but it's not if it's an exponent. Yes. Does 9 divide by 2? No. So you just subtract 1 from it. That's the rule for the exponent, please. If it's even, divide by 2. If it's odd, subtract 1 and then divide by 2. Come on now, think that through and speak up, girl. You hear me? Anybody else? Miliana? All right, here we go. 21. Shh. Everybody's doing 21. Let's go. Everyone knows the square root of 144 is what? 12. So what is the answer? Sean? That's perfect. That's the answer. There's no radical left because they were all what? They were all perfect squares. That's the answer. Ava? Sienna? All right, here we go. 23, have at it. 30 seconds. All right, Trumbull. What are we thinking?
So you hit it with 25,
Good job, buddy. That's exactly right.
move to 5,
125 is 25 times 5. All right, so now tell me the answer.
and then, okay, so your answer will be 5. Or, I mean,
Don't-
25. and
Don't
then
forget the
A,
plus or minus,
plus or minus.
and then relax. What's the square root of 25?
5.
So put a 5 down. What are you stumbling with words for?
And then
Shh, leave them alone, Rivers. All right, you guys are playing around too much.
A, 3,
Good.
and then B, 2,
And then what's left behind?
yeah, and then 5.
Yeah, that's called a square root, not a yeah. Right, that's a square root. All right, here we go. 25, 30 seconds, go. And some of you guys are getting fast at it. Don't have to write anything down if you're good. Right, if you can do the math in your head, I'm happy. If not, just break them down. What about 52, Mr. Danzy? What perfect squares in 52?
There is a.
13, 4.
Thank you. 13 times 4 today is 52.
You would, so 13 would, the answer would be.
All right, now I want you to
I know,
look
I
up
know.
there on the board, go slow and tell me the answer,
13 times 4,
right?
x to the second times x.
Good job, buddy.
And then y to the sixth.
All right, tell me the answer now.
And then so it'd be -2 x to the just x,
Right?
y to the third, and then radical 13.
Thank you, sir. Nice. Easy,
Mhm.
right? It's so easy to write out the work, right? I'm not making mistakes if you write out the work. Eventually, you'll just be able to look at that and just tell me that's the answer. All right, here we go. Number 27. Come on, girls. Someone's up. One of the girls. Who's going to volunteer? Thank you. Good job, girl. Let's hear it.
Okay, so it's 9 x to the 8,
Well, wait a minute. What does 98 break down to?
9. Oh, great. It'd be 9 times
2 times what? Shh, use your calculator. This is a common one because it's kind of hard to see.
29.
Yeah, thanks. I'm having her do it for me.
49.
2 times 49. Now, are the other variables okay?
Yeah.
What?
So, well, x to the 8 and y to the 4.
Okay, so now tell me the final answer now. Shh,
So 7
good.
x to the 4,
X to the what?
the 4.
No. What's the rule with exponents? Shh. You made a,
They don't.
well, no. Remember, the rule is for the exponents, you divide by 2. The reason why we use x to the 16th because kids write x to the 4th because they're taking the square root of the exponent. You don't take the square root of the exponent. You take the exponent and divide it by 2. So it'd be x to the what power?
8.
Then it would be y to the,
Third.
and then what's left behind?
2.
Yes. Perfect. That is correct. Anybody have any questions with 27? What? I don't even know why you're saying, and you're telling me 3 is not a perfect square. I know 3 is not a perfect square. What does 3 have to do with this conversation?
Y is second, and B just Y by itself.
How am I supposed to help with what you're thinking? What do I do to variables? What do I do to variables? By what? What is the question? Write that in your notes. Divide the variable by 2. That's what you need to know, not square rooting a variable. All right, Tucker, go, 29.
29. So for 29, it's 11x to the 10th times x and then y squared.
Good job. Hold up. Let me go quick. 121, x to the 10th, x, y to the 4th. Go.
And then it's 11x to the 5th.
Don't forget the what?
11x.
Don't forget the,
Well, the negative.
right? So we,
Negative 11x to the 5th, y, and then
y to the what?
y to the second.
Yeah, you're going too fast. And then what's left behind?
And
Good. All right, I'm happy with that. All right, anybody want to be brave for number 31? You're not brave. Seriously? All right, Austin, you be brave. Go. Shh. What? Oh my gosh, already one thing. You've been giving everybody else's answer. I call on you to give me something, then you start with the wrong answers. Correcting everyone else.
20 and 4.
Good, 20 and 4. I'll accept that. And then what? Shh, shh, shh. You were the one who said you were brave.
No, but it's like the one I get.
This is the one you get, then this should be easy for you. Shh. Come on, what do we got here, Austin?
So these divide. So 5. Oh no, those are divide. So 2, 26 behind.
Yes?
It's 2A and then B 2 and then
I have no idea what you're saying, man. Just stop. Just stop. Just stop. Let the experts do this one, man. Just stop. This one's way too hard for you. No, 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 no. Who said I got it? Yeah, Trimble. This is gonna be. Oh, no, no, no. Ava, tell us. Go. Shh. Shh. Oh, wait a minute. Are you telling me to break down the inside? So a squared and then b cubed breaks down to what?
B squared to B,
Yes. Now what, please?
and then it's 2AB.
Hold on a second. 2ab, and then what's left behind?
It's a little square thing.
That's called a little square root, please.
Square root, and then 20B.
Beautiful. And then don't forget the what?
Oh, the plus.
Yeah, don't forget the plus or minus sign. However, we're not done because 20 has a perfect square in it also. What perfect square is in 20 again, guys? 4 times 5b. What's square root of 4? So when I bring it out, I do what? Multiply. So that answer is plus or minus 4ab radical 5b. Now, for those of you guys who know your facts, it'd have been much easier if you just did 16 times 5. 80 is one that's usually on the test because it's kind of hard to see. All right. There are 2 perfect squares in 80. All right. Now, 33. Hold up. Lily, is that you back there?
Yeah.
Go, Lily, go. Shh. I'm listening. Shh. What are you talking about? 9 and 4. What is 9 and 4? Oh, you're telling me 9 times 4 is 36, right? Or you could just say 36 is already a perfect square, right? Yeah. So we can leave 36 alone. What one do I have to break down? Yeah, so that becomes a what? Good. So now what's my answer? That'd be square root of y or radical y, whatever you want to say. Oh, that was good.
Yay.
All right, 35.
No, it doesn't bring up. You're done.
What do you mean we're done? What time's the bell ring? What?
51 doesn't ring.
Y'all doesn't work.
Okay, so listen, guys. What are you telling me it doesn't ring? You cost me at least 30 seconds.
For the past, like, week.
All right, so listen, guys. Hey, again, practice. All right. I am going to sit here and I'm going to go down and do all of the answers to the odds, and I'm going to do the evens the other class. All of it's going to be done tomorrow when you come in. All right, the whole worksheet has to be done. I'm going to call you to my desk.
My test, I accidentally turned it into the radical thing,